Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News, the unreliable ones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the newsroom. Welcome to the Goutopia News Network, your unreliable source for DSP News. This is the Snort Report. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming off of the board meeting. Thank you to all of you who have attended. For those who couldn't, don't worry about it. The broadcast is up. There was a lot that we went over, kind of, sort of, but really it's about feedback. It's about presenting you guys with a product that is entertaining, that is somewhat informative, hopefully just kind of funny, and more importantly, just helping you guys get through your day. And it was just a little bit of back and forth just to kind of gauge what you guys are thinking. It's all there, so I won't go over all that. The new overlay, though, that was presented to us by Meerkat will be presented today on this first broadcast. As I said, hopefully Meerkat doesn't mind that I waited so long, but I wanted to start off with a clean slate because this is kind of a new beginning for us. And as I said, for older broadcasts, you're going to see the older layouts that we have, as well as you're going to see in the future kind of a mixed bag. We'll kind of go back and forth depending on what the subject matter is. So all of the layouts that you guys are used to, it's still going to be there and whatnot, because SSP, or Super Sloth Pants, has been extremely generous to us, and she's talented. She does great stuff. So, you know what I'm saying? I want to keep it there. We all do. Also, as you guys know, music choices, things of that sort, all of that's in that video. You guys can go ahead and take a look at that when you guys get a chance. And, you know, like I said, hopefully something comes out of it that benefits everybody moving forward. Now, as it pertains to this, it's our first broadcast, might be kind of shaky and whatnot. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We spent a lot of time trying to adjust everything to get it to where hopefully it's what you guys want. And Meerkat has been super cool and said, hey, if you need anything down the line, you let me know, just as Super Sloth Pants has. So it's a work in progress. But enough of the semantics. Let's go ahead and start cooking. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with one of our favorites, Snort Burnell. Oh yes, one of our favorites, DsPgaming-führer Burnell. What I did in the past was true, but now it's not. And buy me the new system, which actually means systems. As you guys know, ladies and gentlemen, E3 is literally right around the corner, so that's something that you guys should definitely be ready for. But on top of that, the new systems that are going to be presented. Let's see, Nintendo's probably not going to have a new one, but the Xbox definitely has a new project, and Sony is actually not going to be at E3. I think they're going to do their own little thing, so whenever that is. So the console generation, at least for Xbox and for Xbox and Sony, looks like it's going to turn over. There are rumors of Google coming out with their own system, yada yada yada. Nintendo's going to stay consistent because why not? So that should be cool. Maybe I'll do like a recap of E3 coverage. I usually watch it though with Mtcdood. I think Almighty Tevin, praise be, he used to do E3 coverage. I don't know if he's going to do it this year, but if not, I'll be over there with Mtcdood, and maybe we'll go over those videos later on. We'll see. I don't know, but I'm expecting good things out of that. But Phil apparently is expecting you guys being his fan base, at least what's left of you, to open up your wallets and buy him those new systems. And why not? Ladies and gentlemen, they have bought him a brand new Switch because the first one was a brick. That's still debatable, but you know, that's why you have DSP lore. That's why you have the DIA and Agent Proper and myself, as well as others, going back and deep diving into that shit. He ended up getting a PS4 Pro after begging for that for almost a year, and he finally got it. Xbox, I think he actually paid for that damn thing, so he should be all right. Yeah. What else could you expect? So they're definitely gonna buy the new systems. As for the Führer, you've heard the whole situation with the Nazi chat and the Gestapo and whatnot that roams around there, and plus whatever ops that they're pulling on the side. He runs that shit like it's literally Goutopia. Like, he runs it like this is Nazi fucking Goutopia. He literally does. And he's so paranoid, as Hitler was before him, that he trusts nobody. He really doesn't. That's why people have to get screened. That's why when Swaggins was there, he was doing Google background checks to see if any of the new people coming in were associated with detractors or were detractors themselves. He has this thing of paranoia over there that's absolutely amazing to watch, but it's also sickening. It's very, very sickening that a man who's not willing to change and won't change, he can't change, maybe. Because he can't change, because he won't change, because he can't adapt and adjust, he now has to keep everything that he wants and everything that he knows that keeps him comfortable inside of this bubble. And anything that tries to pierce that bubble it's automatically eliminated. It's just the way it has to be. So if you think about it, ladies and gentlemen, in this bubble, it's still the years of 2008 to 2015, if you will. Phil's glory years, as he likes to call it. The rest of those years belong to the detractors. I mean, honestly, really, yeah, 2013. Actually, I said 2015. Really, 2013. That would be his glory years. But, you know, if you want to add him owning the house for a couple years and so on and so forth, whatever. But let's say that. So from 2008 to 2015 are his glory years. Those are the only things he holds on to. Everything else belongs to the detractors, and that's what he's living in. So he's living off past glory, off past success. If you look at it, Cat is really nothing more than an older version of Panda. This is what he's constructed, ladies and gentlemen. Why do you think he's going through so much trouble to erase Panda from history? He has the older and mature model, the model that he wanted. The one that's not so perky, the one that doesn't want to go out all the time and who will sit at home and cook him dinner and clean the house. He has everything he wants from a Cat standpoint. We'll go into that in a future broadcast. But that's kind of where he's at. So in turn, you have to go ahead and basically whip everybody into shape, at least as best as possible. And if they want to leave, they weren't worthy anyway. That's the way Phil treats it, and that's the way it's kind of played itself out. It's a sad way of looking at it, but he did it to himself. He can blame the detractors all they want. He can use them as the focus point, if you will, for his situation. But in truth, the internet is what did him in. The internet is what screwed him up. He's used to being in a world where everything is the same and consistent. The internet's not that at all. And by proxy, the world in general is not like that. You have to evolve. You have to. Or you have to have something that keeps you interesting. That's not really the case. The only thing that makes Phil interesting is the detractors who go over him, who dissect him, who break him down and show him to you in a way that you'd be like, wow, there's really an individual out there like that. It's the detractors who hold the interest. So this misconception that, oh, if you guys hate him so much and you guys want him to go off and die, why do you guys report on him? I've never heard a detractor ever say that. Come to find out, most of the people who actually, well, I won't say most, but a few of the people who actually say that are actually Phil's undercover piggies trying to cause dissension. That's something very interesting in its own right, though. But that's where we're at right now. That is how Nazi Gestapo, that's how the Gouty Gestapo is basically acting, and what their great Gouty leader is pushing down upon them. And then given the circumstances, if anybody decides to really look into the fan base, and there are some people who've done it, get a close look at these individuals. You're going to find people who look to Phil for strength because they don't have that strength. Whether mentally, whether physically, whether whatever. Most of it's not even by their own choice. It's not something that it was their fault. You know what I'm saying? And it is even sad. That's an even sadder and even more egregious aspect of it. Because you have people who just want somebody to believe in, and sadly, they found the wrong person. And they can't leave because he's all they know. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this right here is going to be the, like I said, the first report with the new layout and everything. Please be patient with me for just a second while I get all this worked up. And I think this is really one of those situations where we're just going to have a cup of coffee, some cappuccino, a light breakfast, and we're just going to talk. We're going to just kind of have a good time with it, and hopefully that can be somewhat informative, and yet, not really, but it's somewhat entertaining moving forward. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys all know how this works. This is the Snort Report, and this is DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on. A GTG Network and Productions. You guys all know the slogan. I don't smell no bacon cooking yet, but I'm working on it. It's time to watch me work.
Holy shit! That is an epic fucking intro, dude. And I have to warn everyone. Warning. What you may see right now is going to be absolutely disgusting.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are here yet again with one of our favorites, Snort Burnell, DsPgaming-führer Burnell. What I did in the past was true, but now it's not. And buy me the new systems. Yet again, thank you very much to Meerkat for the new overlay. And I hope to be able to link everything that I can find on Meerkat in the description and whatnot. I'll reach out to Meerkat on Twitter and see what they'd like me to put down. But I'll definitely try to put down their YouTube and at least their Twitter handle. You like what you see, you can go to them. You can talk, give it bounce some ideas off them, just as with Super Sloth Pants, and I guarantee you they're gonna make you something amazing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get to it.
The Fortunato Acosta asked the following. So many other e-celebs continue to collapse under the weight of trolls and just bad people. How did you find a way to keep doing it for so long while others just couldn't, especially considering your trolls are probably the worst on the internet? Number one,
I have incredibly thick skin. The truth of the matter is I'm actually pretty hard to offend.
even though I may get angry at stuff, I don't let it deter me from keeping on. Number two, because as I've told you guys, the reason that the name the King of Hate doesn't mean what people think. They think, oh, it's the King of Hate because he likes to hate on people and hate on games and hate on everything. Wrong. It's because I take the hate that's thrown towards me and I harness it as the fuel to succeed. When someone tells me you're not good enough to succeed, you're bad a content creator, you're an asshole, you're this, you're that, fuck you. I use that to motivate myself to keep going and keep succeeding.
I can't wait for the money.
And that's what it is I just keep going. Because, you know, these people, the worse they get, the more motivated I am to never give up. I'm serious. Like, the worst thing that could happen to me is if, like, in 5 to 10 years, I have no trolls, but at the same time, I have no fans anymore. Like, just no one cares. I would rather have a big polarized audience of people who love me and people who hate me than no one cares about me. You see what I mean? So, for me, motivating me with that stuff, you know, it keeps me going. At the same time, obviously, when it gets to the point where it's so bad that it's detrimental to me succeeding, that's very disheartening. You know, can't get a sponsorship anymore from anyone because these assholes will harass the shit out of any sponsor that I possibly get and announce. That sucks. Everyone else has those opportunities to have these sponsorships, and I don't because of that, and that's not fair to me, but that's my life now. You know, but, you know, I keep going. And the fact that I've had so many people over the years tell me what I do has meaning, that it inspires and motivates them to do things, that's also what keeps me going. So...
All right, let's cut in. So first thing is, he sticks around because he has no choice. Let's be very blunt about that situation. Secondly, and this is something that I think is very interesting to point out, the fact that, oh, whether I have people love me, whether I have people hate me, well, the worst thing that could happen to me is people forget about him. I've said this, and it's true. And by proxy, he needs haters. He needs detractors. He needs trolls because he needs something to grasp on to make him feel like he's important and he's special. That's why he's on kiwi farms all day. That's the reason why he watches multiple detractor Twitters. That's why he watches detractor content. It is what that is. As it pertains to, he needs us way more than we need him. As it pertains to the whole situation with his content, like he uses their hate, their frustration, and all that to ball it up into his hooves to make him a powerful person. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. It's how do I word this? That is bullshit propaganda that you would use on children. That's what that is. That's the whole situation that no matter how bad the situation is, you can overcome. Now, what I just said is the adult version of it. What he said is what you give to a child. And him being a giant child in his own right, it's not too far off of the mark. The problem is, and this goes to point number 4, about how he doesn't let it bother him, he doesn't let it get under his skin, this, that, and the third. How many times has he gone off the rails and blamed detractors for everything and anything that's ever happened to him? How many times have we heard it's Tevin's fault? or it's these detractors' fault, or if they would just lay off and give me some time to breathe, I wouldn't, I could function, man. I need a break. I need to relax. This, that, and the third. How many times has he said these things? Does this sound like a man, that is mentally tough and doesn't let this stuff bother him? Ladies and gentlemen, how many times have you seen this idiot get up because he heard some random noise outside, or he heard some random noise downstairs when no one was supposed to be home? Everybody, and when that stuff happens, unless you hear something definitive, you know that it's really kind of just your mind playing tricks on you. Now, theoretically, there's nothing wrong with taking a few minutes to be just a bit precautious. But if you're doing it over and over again, where you have a penchant for doing it, that's paranoia in its most purest form. So, and this is the same idiot who had an individual, a talented individual, Evil AJ, make it, this is how you don't play on him. Phil took that as, he might come to my house and murder me. His concept and the depth of self-worth and self-importance is ridiculous. To the point now where it's not even, you can't even really call it arrogance. It is arrogance, but it's looked at as something even more than that. Where if for the slightest second that reality ever seeped into his being, he would probably die. He's not man enough to handle it. And look at how his body is physically withering away. His mind is not too far off the mark. If anything, his mind is in a worse position. So he can't say that people don't hurt him, people don't bother him. We just coming off the Pro Jared situation. He held on to two situations. Him going to the what's it called? Screw Attack event and being outshined by Pro Jared. That was 5+ years ago. And then Jared making really just an offhanded tweet. Not even a backsmack, but an offhanded tweet, and he held on to that for 3 years. You're telling me he's not bothered by what people say about him? And who knows how many other people he's been stalking. Other people who he's patiently waiting as the Gouty Viper to sit there and take his shots at. He lives on the internet because it's all he knows and it's all he has. And he's become more accustomed to the negativity than I think anybody ever could. He can't give it up. He needs it. He needs it more than anything. If that's the case, why won't he wage a campaign even further? Why didn't he wage the campaign on Twitch sooner? If you think about it, he could have, if he was able to muscle all these guys off as quickly as he was able to. How long did he wage that campaign? Why did he wait till that time to finally get all of them kicked off? Why didn't he do it sooner? He obviously knew what was going on those three guys' channels. He obviously saw it. And it's funny how 2 of them never even did DSP content, to my understanding. And Tevin had stopped a long time ago, praise be. So you waited until they started doing their own content to automatically start getting upset? Or is it, Phil, that you waited until these guys started getting popular? Until these guys started building followings? And you couldn't live with that. You couldn't live with them building up and living off of their own talent. It had to be about you. And the pretense that he used to get all these individuals kicked off kind of proves that. Tevin, we don't really know yet. But for Bill Purnell and Tex, it was really just because of their names. Their names is how he got them kicked off of Twitch. Their names. And yet you're telling me that he doesn't let the detractors, trolls, and haters bother him? They affect him more in his physical life than they probably ever have done in his online existence. He's only lying to himself. But also he's trying to stay face. For what reason, I don't know. Nor do I think it's even worthwhile. But it is what it is. So all of that is just bacon grease as far as I'm concerned.
Where's the money go? Where's the money go?
Quack Show 7 asks, do you think you'd be more or less popular without drama, adversity, and mistakes that you've had to deal with over the years? I know it's a mixed bag, and some people tune in for that kind of stuff, but also a lot of people have probably been put off. Your opinion? If there never was a negative movement towards me, the whole "this is how you don't play" movement, which then turned into insane amounts of slander against me over the years, I still think, honestly, I would still be a semi-popular YouTuber.
Let me cut in really, really fast. That's definitely a lie, because he started off shitting on games. That's like his first video was shitting on a game. So he was bound to bring negativity towards him. He was bound to do it. There was no other way of going about it. So and this is how you don't play and everything. That wasn't negative. It wasn't negative in the way he tries to describe, because he's the one who made it negative. The moment that he started ranting about it, the moment he tried to take those videos down and they were getting put back up and so on and so forth, is when they became negative, because it's when they directly started to affect him in a visible way that other people in his fan base were able to pick up on, and then later on try to enact on. And then the idiot a couple years later tried to profit off of it, because he thought that it was dying down, and he thought, oh, I can go in and start cashing in. He is a negative piece of shit. He always has been. And that goes back to his FGC days, even before that. So he was carrying baggage with you, kind of, sort of, when he stepped into YouTube. He was, oh, this is what he is. The only difference is he wasn't expecting people to push back. That's what it comes down to. He thought he had enough people, in his words, brain dead idiots, because that's really what he thinks of his supporters, that would shield him and white knight for him, right? In the, you know what I'm saying, as part of the Gouty army, to protect him from any other namesayers, to have them run off the site, or to have them back down, or whatever the case may be. The problem is all those individuals ended up forming their own coalition, which became a movement, which became to what it is now. And he has no control over that. And all these insiders that he may or may not have floating around, it don't even matter. It doesn't even matter. Okay, good on you that you know what my last broadcast says. What does that mean? Are you going to dispel any of it? No. Are you going to take little bits of it and try to use it as your own? You've done it before. I don't see why you won't do it again. And you're going to keep hating on Tevin. It sounds like a normal day. Sounds like a normal day at the farm, if you ask me. Speaking of which, I could really use some milk right now. Oh.
Because in essence, yes, would my YouTube channel have declined slowly over time? It would have, absolutely. But I wouldn't have had the giant thing that happened in 2015 where my revenue went because I had to delete all those videos and my DSP Gaming was removed from the YouTube search engine. Because my revenue, no lie, it went like this. At first I made zero, nothing. Then in 2011 I started making revenue. It actually went up in 2012, like way up. Then in 2013 it kind of started going down a little bit. 2014 it went down a little bit, but it was still, you know, up there. And in 2015, just like that. All because the fuckers who did the false copyright strikes against me. YouTube would not work with me, would not listen to my suggestions, they would not remove the strikes. They said the only way to stop it is to delete videos, because they didn't want to bypass their own automated system. So it was YouTube's automation and refusing to have any kind of a system outside of the automation to fix false copyright strikes, and the trolls who submitted them against me that single-handedly destroyed me financially, because until my income dropped dramatically in 2015, I could afford everything I was doing. I could afford this house, I could afford all the money I had to put into the business, everything that I furnished the house with, the move, all that, it was affordable. I was paying it down gradually, but it was all affordable. When my income went in 2015, that's what fucked me over. Alright? So, you may say, oh, you're right, you know, Phil, now a lot of the reasons that you still have a following is because you're a controversial figure and people want to see what you're all about and they hear the negatives, but then they want to come see you for real and that brings in viewership. Oh, you're right, don't get me wrong. In this modern era where I've had to adjust and become a live streamer and everything, I know that I get people who check me out just because of the negative shit that's been said about me over the years. The point is, if in 2015 my income wasn't halved, I wouldn't be in the situation I'm in now, and I wouldn't even need that. I mean, even if I had half the fan base I had on YouTube back in the day now, I'd be okay. The problem is I don't, because they fucked me over, okay? There's a bug on my wall that I have to squish. Hold on. Free Jerome.
Okay, let's step in. So, first problem that I have, and that I've had for quite a while, here we go, is YouTube and Machinima telling him to delete those videos. I think that's a lie. I'm almost confident it's a lie. I think is he saw the copyright strike, he saw it was for he saw the copyright strikes, he saw it was for fan art, he reached out to Machinima. They didn't reach out to him right away. He went into full piggy panic mode and he deleted those videos. I think that's what really happened. Or he at least privated them at first. Then when he heard back from Machinima, he's like, hey, we'll work this out, give us a little bit of time, so on and so forth. But Phil was still scared because he didn't know exactly how many videos were that had the fan art in it, let alone what fan art was being used. So then he just went ahead and literally just squashed all of that. He deleted all of them. Now, That's what I think the real story is. He says that he had an email that he's still holding on to from YouTube and Machinima, more likely just Machinima though, saying to delete these videos. Now he's saying that YouTube told him to delete these videos, meaning that there has to be an email. He has not shown it because it doesn't exist probably. That's the first thing. Second thing, he says because of that event, he and his channel was taken out of YouTube search. First off, no channel is ever taken out of YouTube search. It's just pushed down. The thing is he was already in a decline already. He was already in a decline. He's admitted this. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you go into a decline, as you fall, people rise. And those people were pushing him down more and more and more as they were going up and as he was falling, which was pushing him, you know, further and further down in the first page, back to the second page, back to the third page. Because despite the amount of content that he was putting out, those videos were getting way more views. So much to the point that they were, you have a guy named Dashy. You guys, I'm sure you've heard of Dashy. He did a playthrough of a game, of one of the games that Phil did. It's only in 20 parts compared to Phil's like 89, 90 parts. Dashy has like 1 million views on every one of those videos. Phil was barely cracking 10,000. And as you get into the middle of those playthroughs, some of those videos are barely cracking 4,000 or 5,000. So Dashy was killing them, quite frankly. Every one of his videos he was killing. So that right there just goes to show what quality can do to quantity. Now, that's Dashy. Now imagine 10 other people who are in the gaming sphere playing that same type of game, and they're all putting up hundreds of thousands of views per video with less videos. Phil was slowly but surely getting thrown down because the numbers game wasn't working against him in the way he thought it could. He thought, I'll spam more videos and that'll keep me relevant. Nah. They were beating you off views. And not just that, ladies and gentlemen. They were beating him on views. They were beating him on interactions. The likes and dislikes weren't disabled, and their comment section was open. And the more comments you get, the more YouTube wants to elevate that video, because that's interaction with the video. That interaction helps you tremendously. And not just in that video, but in any video. And like I said, all of Phil's shit, he's probably going back in that day, he was going back there deleting comments. He was deleting shit that he didn't want to hear. He was policing videos. So he was screwing himself even more. You don't believe me on that? Go and look at Amberlynn and Foodie Beauty. They both admit to going ahead and canceling out comments all the time. Go to The Honest Opinion, who did a video on at least one of them. And he'll even talk about how when you cancel out when you start deleting your comments, it starts fucking with your algorithm, which ends up screwing your video over. So to have a safe space on YouTube, there's consequences. And there has been for a very, very long time. So now you take him deleting between 3 and 7 million views off of his channel because he was an idiot and he couldn't wait. Then you go ahead and take his already declining channel and his views of all the videos he has. The number game isn't helping him. And then you take the fact that he doesn't have any interactions on any of the videos anyway. Or he had very little. Sounds like the perfect storm to screw him up. Now, let me go ahead and present the fourth part to you. The fact that he wasn't willing to change. He wasn't willing to adapt. He wasn't willing to go to the longer videos as people asked for. He lost attention. The very people who wanted to support him stepped away from him. How was all of that Detractor's fault? I'm sorry that he's not man enough to take a comment. That's not my problem. I'm sorry that he was too stupid and he couldn't wait a day or two for Machinima to do their goddamn job and figure out what the situation was with these copyright strikes, with that false copyright strike, and that they were going to dismiss it probably anyway. That's not my fault that he panicked. I have nothing to do with that. I have nothing to do with him refusing to change because he wanted to be the realest guy on YouTube and be authentic. I don't give two fucks about that. So, and I have nothing to do with his decline on YouTube. He did that to himself. I'm sorry that he expected you guys to carry him kicking and screaming. Ain't got shit to do with me. So, yet again, who's really at fault for all that? DSP News.
Subscribed for 2 months is regarding the polarized audience. You saying you'd rather be Hitler than your average Joe. No, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. No, I don't. That's insane.
I'm Hitler. Hitler did not have a huge fan base. He did at one point until he started doing insanely horrific things to
You have the fuck idea what you're talking about. First off, he didn't have a fan base. He had literally a fucking following. He convinced the whole country to follow him for the most part, and everybody else who didn't, they died. Which, ironically enough, if you think about it, Phil has, well, at one time had an extremely large following, and those who didn't fall in line got kicked out. I mean, he's just less egregious. And even then, when it came to the atrocities, there were still people that were willing to do it because they believed in him. Just saying. Just saying.
Races of people, then no one liked him, but everyone was stuck under this terroristic regime where they couldn't ever speak up or do anything against him because they would be...
You're wrong. There were people who spoke up against it. They got killed. Or they got out. But a lot of them got killed. So there were people who rose up against them. You should know all about that, Phil. You should know all about revolts.
Fucking brutally murdered. Okay? That's different than, oh, that's right. This is the United States of Phil. I am the supreme being. I make the rules, and what I say goes. This is not a place for you to stand on your soapbox and complain about censorship and freedom of speech, because the bottom line is you don't have freedom of speech. This is my land.
There's a group of people who don't like me because of slander over the years, but there's actually a group of people who like me because they know the real me, and they kind of go at it. That's very different. I mean, that's the dumbest freaking, connection I've ever heard. It's completely an erroneous analogy, but the truth of the matter is that, not being known at all, right? Like, I wouldn't be able to do this for a living. If I was just a normal guy...
Holy shit, you're gonna go back to... Ladies and gentlemen, if this doesn't tell you how little he thinks of his own self-worth, and so by proxy, he needs people to justify his existence, whether, positive or negative, I don't know what will. Because at the end of the day, like, let's think about what the initial situation was. Okay? You basically run shit like a fucking dictator, and you've kind of compared yourself to fucking Hitler. Phil's gonna go ahead and deny that shit, and then say, there are people who hate me and whatnot because of slander, and then there are people who like me and they decide to go at it. What he's not telling you is that the people who don't like him used to be part of his fan base. Your original detractors, or at least some of them, were part of his fan base who got tired of being mistreated and got tired of how other people were getting mistreated. That's what kind of happened. So it wasn't slander, because most of them were there at ground zero. They were there from the beginning. They were there from the alpha. They've been there. They were in the trenches when there was no haters, and they were just dealing with Phil's toxic bullshit, which most of that is what caused them to leave in the first place. And then you got these people wanting to fight back, as you will with most fan bases, especially when they're young and stupid. So, I mean, that's nothing particularly new. But you can't say that he wasn't the driving force behind it. Because he was trying to have people take down those videos on top of himself since the beginning. He sent people out to do dirt for him. He always has. Because he's a lazy piece of shit in his own right. He didn't do all that stuff on his own. Someone needed to go out there and flag all those videos before he came in with the coup de grace. You know what I'm saying? He milked the system for everything that it was worth. He's certainly been suckling at the pig titty for a while. He knows how this all works, or at least how it did work. So he can't say that shit. But then for him to end all of that nonsense with the fact that whether people liked me or hated me, if I wasn't known, I wouldn't be here. That he still depends on other people's opinions to keep him there is probably the saddest part of all of this. So when people come around and say, oh, it's not fair to call Phil pathetic and so on and so forth, then what is he? He tells you that he's this, that, and the third. That he can stand on his own too, that, he's a real man, he's an adult, and he understands how everything works, yet he messes everything up. He fails at almost everything. Almost. And he's constantly relying on these kids to pull him through it. Doesn't sound like something a man does, to be honest. And now he's telling you that his self-worth is based on other people. Well, DSP News?
Right? And no one knew who I was or nothing. It would be impossible to break into this. You know what I mean? So I'm happy that at the very least, I do have something going for me. But I certainly don't welcome the negative shit. I don't. I'd rather just have it be positive stuff, so. Westside Rascal Judy said there's a lot of...
But the thing is that it's not that coming into any new platform unknown, it doesn't mean that you don't have a starting point. You'll build a following over time. Phil doesn't want to do that. And he doesn't want to put the work into network and so on and so forth to make all that happen. And that's what screws him. And he knows it. He knows it. He doesn't want to put any effort into it. And now his reputation's so shit that he would rather it be shit than to try to start over. Or try to reinvent himself. Which he couldn't do that anyway because it'd be a lie and people would pick it all apart. So he would rather stay in the fucking mud. He would rather wallop in his own shit than get up, admit to his mistakes, and shower off. And you guys wonder why he wears the same shirt for multiple days.
Detractors have spread throughout the years. What's one, in my opinion, is one of the most egregious? Anything that's, let me put it this way. Anything that's so, like, nasty about personal stuff that's completely false, that people would not ever want to watch my content. So I've heard just a few.
I'm a pedophile. I abused women who I was with by either like emotionally abusing them or hitting them. I've heard that one. That I did things behind the scenes that were messed up to people who I've been involved with. Wow, Phil, you know, you really have a bad rep because of these nasty things you've done on the internet. I'm an evil bastard.
Let's see. Probably the one that pisses me off all the time is everyone saying that I scam. He's a scammer. He has a history of scamming. What history? Where do you have any evidence whatsoever that I've ever scammed a single person? Because if I had, I wouldn't fucking be here for 11 years. Someone would have found me out. If you think I'm some kind of a habitual scammer, someone would have determined that there was a scam involved and I wouldn't be here anymore. You know what I mean? But they actually have this running thing saying that I'm a scammer when there's no evidence of it because it never happened. I've never scammed a single thing ever.
And sadly enough, when it comes April, I may need to do another fundraiser to pay my taxes. Taxes. I need that money. I really do. I need that money to pay my bills. By the way, I really desperately need the money to help with my tax situation. So, hint, hint, save the house. I got married in Connecticut. That is correct. I got married in the state of Connecticut when I was there. Wow, Phil's a scammer. He's a piece of underhanded shit. He's been lying to his viewers and fans for so long. And basically saying that, you know, he was raising money for taxes, but all that money obviously went to pay for this wedding that he didn't tell us about, and he scammed us, and no one would have ever contributed if he had said it was for a wedding instead of something important like taxes, and this is fucked up, and he's really screwed the pooch.
Anything that ever didn't go the way that I had intended it, I've explained to the people. I've explained about the Project 7 reboot that didn't happen, that all I was doing was a trailer.
I had to lie. It's all lies. It is all fucking lies. All right? I'm good at lying.
It was, you know, agreed upon by my audience that they didn't want to see me do it. And there was literally one single fucking person, ever, who actually was angry about that and ended up kind of not being a fan of mine anymore. One person out of all my viewership was angry about me not making a Project 7 reboot trailer. But they'll, to this day, make up shit and say that I scammed people out of money when it never happened. It didn't fucking happen. And then they use that every time Phil says that he needs money, he's scamming you.
What evidence do you have? Zero, so shut the fuck up. Like, I am a nasty or toxic person all the time. Phil is a toxic, nasty person all the time. There's no actual positive value in anything he does.
You can't just keep saying it and expect that it's going to be truthful. But the thing, people are dumb and they'll just believe shit. You know, I don't know. Other things over the years that people have said, you know, that just piss me off.
All right, let me, since he wants to pick at scabs and shit, let's go ahead and see what we have so far. So, he's never scammed anybody. The wedding situation has already been pointed out. We don't have to worry about that. But let's talk about the lead up to that. Let's talk about this whole, oh guys, I got this tax, or no, not even tax. We didn't even know it was taxes. We assumed it was, which turned out to be. But we didn't actually know what it was at the time. Hey guys, I got this situation going on right now, man, and it just hit me out of nowhere, and I have this feeling in my gut, and I've only felt this way twice in my life. One, when Machinima said that they were going to have to change how much I was making, and the second was when Ad Apocalypse happened, and it feels like it's rotting in my gut, and it makes me feel so sick. Remember that, Phil? That turned out to be taxes, right? That was the beginning of the tax scam. But then you ended up taking all these breaks, and you were able to fly out Cat back and forth. And then you were ended up able to bring her over here from Michigan. That sounds like a scam in its own right. Let's go back a little further than that. since you wanted to bring up Project 7, you want to talk about how you scammed the viewers and everything with a trailer, which you did, and whatnot. You certainly did, and you lost way more people than just KG out of that nonsense. A whole shitload of people. A lot of the people who are current detractors now are pissed off that you fucked them out of that situation. For Street Fighter V, because the stars weren't in line, or the stars had a line that said, don't do Project 7, play Street Fighter V, and you did. Now, the thing is you even admitted that you were supposed to take off a whole month to do such and such and such and such for Project 7, but you never got around to doing it. You didn't even try to do it, to be honest. And that was supposed to be the lead up to that video that you ended up making saying that you weren't going to do Project 7. But let's go back a little bit further than that. Patreon. You started Patreon, right? I think to gain all this new equipment to try to better your content and to do Project 7. In truth, the reason why you made Patreon was to supplement your income that you weren't going to be making on Twitch. And you needed a lure. You needed bait to bring these kids in. So you used Project 7. Because people have been wanting that forever. And then you had higher price points or perk levels, because if they donate a certain amount, they could actually be in Project 7. So you're telling me all these people paid in to be in the Project 7 just so they could be in a trailer? Fuck out of here with that shit. Let's go back a little bit further than that, but still staying on that Project 7 timeline, because you know how I like to do it. So let's go all the way back to Connecticut with it. John and Howard were like, hey, why don't you throw a couple of bucks at Respect the Pack, and so we can at least get this project done. Oh, they don't want any money, dude. They don't want any money. No. They don't want any money. They just want exposure, man. I swear to God, John. They don't want any money. They want this. Dude, they're talking about having to pull out because, you know, one dude has a kid coming and they have other job offers now. So theoretically, they end up getting the promotion, the publicity. They have other job offers now. And if you really want them to finish this last bit up, throw them some money so we can at least complete this. No, man, I talked to them. They don't want any money, man. I swear to God, John, they don't want no money. I swear to God. I swear on the brand new BMW that I'm going to have out there the next time you and Howard show up that they don't want any money. I swear to you. And then guess what? Phil got that brand new BMW. Howard and John are looking at each other like, what the fuck is this? Next thing you know, Respect the Pack ends up pulling out. That seems coincidental a little bit. Seems a little coincidental that some shit like that would pop off, right, Phil? Right, Phil? They didn't want any money. They didn't want anything at all. And then Phil's new cover story is, oh, well, we had 2 meetings and whatnot. Both times we talked about it, and that's that. What he tells you, though, is that both of those meetings were in the beginning of Project 7. Things change as the business relationship evolves. So when John and Howard approached him about, hey, throw some money at Respect the Pack so we can finish this project, they were already a couple episodes in. But Phil went ahead and went back off what they agreed to months ago and said they don't want any money. They just want the publicity. They don't want any money. They're going to wait until we do the DVDs and everything and the DVD packages, and then they can get paid then and whatnot. Remember that, Phil? You didn't rip off your buddies. You didn't lie to your friends. Well, sorry. You didn't lie to John and then lie to that associate Howard and then lie to OJ, and you didn't lie on them and say, or lie to them, I should say, and say that, hey, they don't want any money at all. That Respect the Pack just wanted the publicity. You remember that? Okay, fair enough. Now, let's go back. See, I want to save that because I'm actually researching that currently. You've lied quite a bit. You've lied quite a bit to your friends. Oh, well, no, we can, I'll jump on this one. What about Panda, man? Now, granted, to think that having Panda move in just so she can take care of him when he gets his back surgery isn't completely out of the question. We don't know exactly what it was that he promised her or what the circumstances were that she agreed to have him move. But he was talking about his back. He was talking about possibly getting it fixed. And one of the reasons why he couldn't do it in Connecticut, one of the reasons why he couldn't do it in Connecticut is because there would be no one to take care of him. He needed someone to be there 24/7 to go ahead and clean his piggy butt every time he did something. And then he said, well, if I move to Seattle, I might consider getting the back surgery because Leanna would be there, which would lead people to believe that it's very possible that that was one of the pretense to have her go out there and move with him, that he'd get the back surgery, she'd take care of him for however long it was going to take till he recovers. Problem is, though, is if that scenario was going to be the situation, he would have had her get a license as soon as they got out there. certainly before the surgery happened. He laid off on that for a while. Matter of fact, I don't think she ended up actually getting a license until it was time to really start for her to get a job. That didn't happen until money started getting bad. Just saying, there's some issues there. There's some problems and whatnot. But like I said, that's just, most of that's semantics. He's pretty much ripped off everybody in his life. He's used them for what they need, for what he needed, and then he discarded them. It is what it was. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and talk about the situation that led up to the whole John and Howard video in the first place. He says he never screwed anybody over, he never ripped him off, it was all slander. You called these guys cowards for not reaching out to you when you tried to reach out to them so you could have them into your content, saying that they moved on without you and they were plotting that from the beginning and so on and so forth, despite the fact that one of them wasn't really your friend anyway and the other one was just an associate. Funny enough, actually I got that backwards. Howard was the associate. John wasn't really your friend. He was just someone that was part of your content. You said it yourself that he wasn't actually like a real friend or whatnot outside of him participating in your content. If you're John, that must have hurt a little bit. So with that being said, when you called them out for being cowards for not reaching out to you and they need to act like men and whatnot instead of acting like little boys and shit because they didn't want to sit there and do content to help your ass out, and then they made the video, they made their response video, which you had taken down, right? Phil won't tell you that, but he had that video taken down. And then if it wasn't for the detractors, which is the reason why it's floating around, you know, no one would probably even have a chance to really get a hand on it, at least hear it out. Did you not fuck them over too? But how was that slander if that's what you really did and it really happened? So much so, in fact, that you made another response video, you published it apparently, and then you had it taken down within 15 minutes. So who knows if anybody even has that or not. Thanks, shouts out to Agent Proper for bringing that up. So now, if somebody has it, please reach out to me. You might have it on a hard drive, you may have it on an external somewhere, you may know somebody who has it. If you do, let me know. Is there an older Detractor channel out there that has pieces of it? You know, may even have just a couple snippets of Phil's response because he was such a coward and put it up and then took it down literally within like 15 minutes. Because he was emotional and he was probably in his gen at the time. But you want to sit there and talk about slander. How many people have you slandered throughout your years? And yet you say, oh, it hurts. It hurts to be slandered. It hurts to have things said about you. You've done it to other people too. Blatant lies. Spewing just pure ignorance because you didn't know. You were just emotional and went off whatever you heard. And then if you go ahead and translate that into what's going on now, he doesn't even do research on anything. All of his information comes off Twitter. DSP News?
Anymore. Maybe they were at one point. You know, at one point in the past, people would say that Phil is racist and stuff. No, I was never racist, but I admit that I used to make way more risque jokes. But just because I made risque jokes at a time when those jokes actually were laughed at doesn't make me a racist. It just means that I really pushed the envelope a lot more back in the day on YouTube. And now today, people are a lot more sensitive. That's not really considered funny anymore, and I wouldn't make those jokes.
It wasn't really considered funny back in those days either. Hence the reason why you got all that blowback then. And it's funny how you say, oh, those jokes were made back then and they were funny. I just took it way too far. Or pushing the envelope, as you say. So you knew what you were doing was wrong back then and you did it anyway because you thought there'd be enough people who would have your back on the situation. When really it just made you seem like what you are, a racist. Sorry, Phil. I mean, you're better off just owning up to it, to be honest. Because guess what? People who aren't racist don't say the shit that you've said. Sorry, Phil. I mean, I guess you can blame that on your Italian... I guess you can blame that on your Polish heritage, I suppose. Or your invisible Italian heritage. Maybe you can blame it on that. What do you want to do, Phil? Go ahead and pick something for me. Because I don't remember him saying a whole lot of Italian jokes, and I certainly don't remember him saying a whole lot of Polish jokes. But you love those Jew jokes, though, right, Phil? You certainly love your Asian jokes, right? You definitely love those jokes about those African Americans, right? Right, Phil? Just saying.
Right? I've evolved with the times and changed to be a better person, and I understand why that kind of humor just doesn't make sense anymore. But You know, that being said, to say that I'm a racist because I did something 10 years ago that I wouldn't do in the modern day is bullshit.
You wouldn't do it in the modern day because you can't get away with it. That doesn't mean, though, that you don't have the same opinions or you still don't have the same feelings towards those group of people. And I had only named a few earlier. You've said a bunch of really fucked up shit about a bunch of people over the years. That's why there are compilations of you out there. So don't act like you did it because of some type of moral standing. You did it because you had no choice. You had no choice but to stop. That's why. And if you still think that way and you're not brave enough to say it, doesn't make you any less of a racist, dude. This isn't really hard to figure out. You see that shit exposed on Twitter all the fucking time. Everybody wants to play it off as a joke until it's turned against them. Or if it was said about their race, it'd be problematic. Everybody wants to scream bloody murder then, but for everybody else, oh, it's just a joke. You need to chill out. I'm not racist. And then people dig it up and they're like, oh, wow, you got a history of saying shit like this. And then that's when everybody comes out with that whole sad argument about, oh, I was in a dark place and I was going through a bunch of things, and that same sad-ass excuse kind of make you wonder. If all of you say something like that or say a variation of it, maybe you are what you are. Just saying. But don't act like you stopped because you thought it was the right thing to do. Certainly it was far from it.
You have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Shut up. Thank you, moron. God, people are fucking stupid. I'm sorry if you take that as harsh. It is harsh. You shouldn't talk about things you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
That's not a fair standard. That's like saying things that 10 years ago are the same as today is the same as 10 years in the future, and it's not, and everyone knows that. But not mature people say stuff like that, you know. Well, Westside Rascal 2 says that, you know, anything about you being a pedophile is especially awful and untrue. Sorry you have to deal with that. Yeah. And the thing is, there's always been evidence on the internet proving the contrary, but people are just stupid. They ignore it. Much like, oh, Phil was never a high-level tournament player in Street Fighter, but the tournament results are on the internet. Ignore them, right? To have their narrative pass. So, Ptolemy.
But it's not wrong, though. You won a couple of qualifiers, cool. But what about some of the other bigger tournaments that you went to and you barely broke into the top 10? How about that? And here, let's talk about the part that's really important. You can say whatever he wants to say about qualifiers and so on and so forth. And he's beaten some notable people. But when it came to the big stage, he couldn't get it done. He couldn't get it done on a port that was buggy as shit. Hence the reason why he entered the tournament, because no one knew how bugged it was. Well, very few people knew how bugged it was. And he had been playing on it, so he knew what the advantages were, and he still got screwed over. Sorry, he didn't get screwed over. He still got his ass handed to him. He's taken every well, at least it seems like, he's taken almost every shortcut that he could in life. From trying to be successful, from using just shitty-ass jokes, and certainly jokes he couldn't deliver, from how he conducted himself at work, through the FGC, YouTube. He's done everything half-ass. He's done everything with the least amount of effort. And is mad that people say that he's useless, he's lazy, he's never been good at anything. What effort did he put in? Or did he put in at all? He can convince these kids all day that he put in effort, but where is it then? Just because you put out a lot of content doesn't make the content good. Just because you put in a lot of time in Street Fighter, focusing on counter picks and focusing on gimmicks, doesn't make you a good player. Just because you showed up half drunk to work 3 days a week, and then you stayed late because you came in late, doesn't make you a good worker. Just saying. DSP News.
Says, will you be purchasing the next generation of consoles when they come out? Let me put it this way. It's kind of necessary because they're going to be coming out within the next 1 to 2 years from all the information we're now getting. I would assume 2020 is when we're going to see the next generation of consoles come out. My problem is, you know, financially, I'm shot, man. Like, I'm just not in any good situation at all.
Hint, hint. By the way, hint, hint.
And you're talking dropping $500, $600 a console for a single console. You know what I mean? And the fact that I don't know how much they're going to cost and what will my situation be come next fall. You know, when these consoles are released, will I have any money to pay towards that, or am I going to be in the situation I'm in now, where all my money is going to bills, and taxes and shit, and I just can't afford anything? It really is a necessary business investment. If I can't get the new consoles at launch, that's a giant opportunity of me covering the launch of the new consoles, unboxing them, showing you the launch games, etc. huge lost opportunity for coverage and things that people want to see. But sadly, you know, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it.
I might have to rely on people being generous and saying, Phil, I'll donate a console to you at launch so you can cover it, you know, and that's uncertainty, and that's not cool, you know. Like, I wish I could afford, I can't afford anything anymore. It's at that point where I could barely afford the games, so it sucks. I eBay.
Now let me jump in, because this is getting to the most egregious part. We've gone over how he scammed and fucked over people. We've gone over his racism. Now let's talk about how he wants to use. Now let's talk about how he wants to use what little he has left. Okay, new consoles coming out, like I said, next year, year after. He's sitting here telling you guys just about the consoles, $500 or $600 per console, probably. Phil's probably going to want certainly the one with the largest hard drive capacity, with the most, you know what I'm saying, with the most CPU power and whatnot, best graphics. He's going to want all of that because he wants to bring you the best quality possible, right? So it's possible if they decide to break them up into tiers like Xbox did, like the Xbox One did, I should say. You're talking about on the high end, we're looking at like $700, $800 possibly. And that's for Sony and Xbox respectfully, if Sony decides to take that path, which they've done kind of already with the hard drive space. So we're talking about $1,600 just for new systems that he's expecting someone to come through with. Now let's go ahead and get to the part that's going to be really important. New console comes out. He expects someone to donate these consoles to him. What about games? What about games? And the people are talking about the price of games might go up. It might go to like like 70 or $80 a game now. And we're not even talking about special edition. We're talking about standard, maybe, for next gen consoles. There's still a debate about it, but there's different places talking about it. So now he's expecting you guys to do what? Year 1 and year 2 of the first gens. He's talking about you guys donating all of those games to him. And granted, the way gaming publishers and whatnot are looking at now, especially once because they know what the new specs are going to be and the new technology that's going to go into this. I'm not saying there's going to be 10 or 15 games from each console respectfully out the gate, but there'll probably be a few. They're definitely going to want games that are going to be system sellers. And Phil's definitely going to want those because those are going to have a lot of hype behind them. So now you guys are going to have to produce the money for that too. How is that? How does he really expect this to work out? So we're talking about day 1 or even week 1. He's expecting somebody or a group of people to cough up, I would say $2,000 is generous. For both consoles, extra controllers and peripherals, and games. More importantly, games. He's expecting that to come his way. Amazing. Just amazing. And he has the nerve to say that, oh, well, people who get games, they're fucking shills and they're assholes and they're dishonest. When these new consoles come out, a lot of influencers, that's what they call them in other communities, but whatever. These influencers are going to get probably free consoles too, and to review them and test them out and so on and so forth. He's going to call them this, that, and the third also. But they're all shills, they're all dishonest, you know, they're all there for the money. But he expects his fan base to pay all that up to him. Because of what? Because they're your fan base, because they love you and what you do and your content, they're investing in you. So you guys have to get me the console because I'm the source of your entertainment. You have to pay me. You have to give me all these things because if not, where are you going to go to get entertained? Like there isn't options out here. So you already have someone who's behind the times, who all the technology he has now for the most part is outdated, who conducts himself as well as his office, probably his house, somewhat of a pigsty, somewhat. And yet now he wants you guys to cough up $2,000+ so he can be not even ahead of the curve, but to just be in the runnings with all these other people. But he doesn't want to do that on the corporate dime. He doesn't want to be a shill. He doesn't want to be a sellout. He wants your money. He doesn't want the corporation's money. He wants your money. And you guys are going to, and most people will probably let him do it, or at least try to. But he says all this stuff he says all the things that are said about him are slander. That it's not true. That he doesn't rip off people. He doesn't use people. This, that, and the third. The guy's too lazy now to get consoles for the very business that he relies on to make a living, for him and his wife. He's not even man enough to go ahead and work hard to do that. He needs other people to step up and give it to him. This isn't like fan art or something else. We're talking about people literally having to work and then come up with this extra money, not able to necessarily get the fun stuff for them, but to buy it for Phil first. Oh, you really want the PS5? Oh, yeah, I know. But you really love being on my streams, though, right? You love watching my videos, right? You should probably get that for me. You can always get yourself another one later. Yeah. You can always get yourself another one later. Go ahead and just send it to me so I can keep making this great content. Yeah. And then when a much newer version comes up 2 or 3 years down the line, guess who's going to flip the bill for that too? Imagine that. DSP News.
Right? You're constantly asking your viewers and your fans for contribution. Phil's just one of the worst e-beggars. Disgusting beggar. Phil's always been a beggar.
Dragonfly tipped me $1 saying, I think the Project 7 stuff is more because you never offer people a refund after the project fell through. People paid money for a product that wasn't delivered and didn't get a refund. Imagine if a company like Sony did the same thing for PS5. Dragonfly, as I just explained, one singular person, after I didn't do Project 7, complained to me directly and said, I did pledge on Patreon for this, and because of this, I'm upset at you. No one else ever did. And the bottom line is you can't refund that. For
fuck you. You're a liar.
For example, let's say someone did a $5 pledge that month, okay, to my Patreon. What percentage of their $5 did they pledge directly to see Project 7? If I didn't do Project 7, would they have only pledged $1 or $2? It's fucking impossible to figure that out. People would have had to come to me directly and say, Phil, I'm angry you didn't do Project 7. One person did. I had a personal conversation with that person, and that was the end of it. There was no controversy surrounding this. The whole thing was completely fabricated by my detractors, saying, oh, there's a big scam, and Phil just, didn't do it, and so many people are upset. One person was upset.
Silver-tongued talker, right? Oh, I'm just going to say it one way, and hopefully you'll believe it, even though that's not the truth. And that's literally what's happening here. The guy's a liar. The guy's a fucking blatant liar and lying to everyone. But people are believing it because they don't know any better.
And contacted me, and I directly talked to that person about it. And that was the end of it. No one came to me demanding refunds or whatever. Nothing. And I did find other ways. Like I said, the next month, I had actually lowered the total amount of money that needed to be contributed to hit perks. I gave out free perks and rewards the next month as a result of me not coming through with the month before. But no one wants to talk about that. We just want to say Phil didn't refund, when in reality, there was no way to actually refund anything. It's stupidity. The whole situation is stupidity fabricated by assholes.
I'm the lol cow.
Now, one, we know that's all a blatant lie, because here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Let's say, let me use myself for example. Bad example time. Okay. So let's say, I don't know what, all right, whatever. Let's say I need let's say I need a new news monitor, 70 inches, 4K, all that good shit. All right, let's say I needed that, right? And let's say I started a Patreon for you guys to donate to that. But also in that Patreon, I have other perks and whatnot. But for this month, right? Now keep in mind, Phil shilled this over like 6 months, that whole Project 7 bullshit. But let's say for 6 months, or at least allegedly, for 6 months though, let's say I have this campaign for it. But then, as you guys know, I have other perks and whatnot, so you guys can donate to that. Okay. What Phil is trying to say is that, oh, well, because all you guys gave me all this money over a period of time, how could I possibly give you guys your money back because I don't know what you gave for this or this or this? All right, fair enough. Here's where the problem kind of comes into play. And this is the reason why he uses that caveat as his excuse. Because he would have to give all that money back. Because he shilled for the Project 7 for months. And he knew that's what people were really donating for. It doesn't even matter the other little perk goals or whatnot, because most of them he didn't hit anyway. So it doesn't really matter. He knows that if he ended up coughing all of that money back to these individuals, he'd probably never see a dime of it. Or he would see a very, very small amount. So he made, what, $7,000 off that Project 7 bullshit in its entirety? If he refunded all their money back, which you know he spent it the moment he got it, which is another reason why he couldn't refund it back, except for that one interesting time that Fred from S.E.C.R.E.T donated to him. I think he donated him like $5, and Fred got that back almost immediately. Semantics, you know what I'm saying? That must have been broke man Jedi mind tricks. Either which way, if he ended up giving the money back, he probably wouldn't see the return. which would show you where the support's really going to lie. And especially when he announced there was no Project 7 after building it up for 6+ months or whatever the case may be, there was a lot of people mad at him. Big mad. Hence the reason why he had to go ahead and lower the perk goals for the following month and this, that, and the third. Also the same reason why that the people who were supposed to be in the Project 7, air quotes, trailer ended up being in the Christmas and Thanksgiving project towards the end of the year. I'm sorry, if people aren't mad, why are you going ahead and setting these standards for them? Why are you going ahead and making, not standards, why are you making these concessions for them if they're not mad? Seems kind of strange. Seems kind of weird. I mean, you'd already ripped them off at this point. Why would you go ahead and set the standard to help them out later on? Seems kind of strange. And it wasn't like KG was the only person who was vocal about how pissed off he was. There were other people too. But we're going to go ahead and sweep that under the piggy rug for right now until Ack Ack and Vacuum later. We're not going to worry about that. And that's why he gets so mad when it's brought up. And that, and most of the people that are there now, they don't remember that. Most of them were not registered to the King of Hate forums or never even been there. They only follow Phil on what his platform was at that time, which was YouTube. Yet again, he's banking on their ignorance for him to get over. Hence the reason why he doesn't like the detractors, or he hates them, I should say, is because they have all of the receipts for the most part. And he knows he can't contend against his own receipts, despite the fact that he tries. He's constantly calling himself a liar, if you think about it. If you said this and there's video proof, and you say, oh, it was taken out of context, or that didn't really happen, or I don't remember saying that, that means you're calling yourself a liar, if you think about it. Now, if you really misspoke, or you really just don't remember what you said about something, that's one thing. But you can't remember something you said last week, but you can remember what someone else told you about Tevin 2 years ago? Okay, that makes sense.
Me. He says, question for Ask the King. I remember when I first started watching you way back in the day, you were so different from other gamers. You weren't a pro. In fact, you referred to yourself as the average Joe gamer, which I thought was refreshing. Watching someone who wasn't accustomed to beating different games and genres, using unconventional ways to beat them in some cases compared to pros and speedrunners, was very fun. Even though there was so much rage, I feel like you've adapted and become better at many games. Do you feel like you've evolved at least a little, or do you think of yourself as the average Joe gamer, and do you think you might still do a speedrun for a game that you love and you feel you're good at? I mean, undoubtedly, right? Undoubtedly. Okay? Times have changed. There's no way back in the day I would have been able to beat a game like Sekiro. Are you kidding me? With zero knowledge of a game series like that? I would even said if I hadn't played Dark Souls, or if I hadn't played Bloodborne, there's no way I would have beaten Sekiro. No fucking way. There's no way I could have gone into that game as my first From Software game ever and been able to beat it. There's just no way. I needed that background to at least have a foothold to start, and then to learn the parry system on top of all that shit. Okay? You know, and you're right.
Wait, haven't you played other games with a parry system and a dodge system? I'm just asking.
A lot of people say, oh, Phil calls himself the Joe Average Gamer, but he's not. He sits around playing games literally all day long, every day. He plays every major release. How could he be considered the Joe Average Gamer anymore? I guess you're right. You know, I couldn't be. At this point...
What do you mean at this point? You were never that. He was paid to sit on his ass, ladies and gentlemen, day in, day out and play games when he started doing this for a living. What makes him the Joe Average Gamer? Matter of fact, even when he started the YouTube channel in 2008 and said that he was a Joe Average Gamer, who had the time to do that and have responsibilities? It's not just him playing the game with his buddies, having a good time, and that's it. He's playing the game, having a good time, getting drunk, and then recording all that shit and putting it up on YouTube in bulk. I don't know about you, but I don't know any average gamers who do that. Even if they have they have the recording software or device of choice, I should say, they don't dump that on YouTube every day. They might do it on the weekend. Most people probably wouldn't even remember to record, but Phil made it a priority to do it. But that makes him the Joe Average person, because everybody in Phil's world does that. Sure, sounds legit.
I've had so much experience, 11 straight years, and out of those 11 straight years, now 8 years of doing this full-time as my job. Obviously, I have way more experience under my belt, and I think that's why it's funny when people now look at game journalists. Their job is to write about a game, and you got a game journalist writing an article for PC Gamer.
Oh, in order to beat Sekiro, I had to use cheats. I had them hack the game, and I'm okay with that. And it's like, but you're reviewing the game. Like, if you're reviewing the game, you have to beat it legit or else your review doesn't count, right?
Aren't you doing playthroughs for the internet? And you didn't beat it legit either. You were using guides. We don't even know how long he's been using them. At least in the middle, I'd say middle of the game, certainly all the way up to the end, he was using them. He may have been using them from the beginning. Who knows? But he was using guides to cheat his whole way through anyway. And probably watching other people's videos on his downtime. How did he find all those secrets and all those extra power-ups and stuff like that? He said he only used the guides to do that. But when you see later boss fights too, it's obvious that he walked in with a plan. He knew what he was doing. But he didn't develop those plans. Someone else developed those plans.
I'm hypocritical. Very, very, very hypocritical.
So, you know, to me, that's kind of like, I understand that, but at the same time, I don't think I'm a great gamer. I think I've gotten better over the years to the point where I can pretty much you put any challenge in front of me, I'm eventually going to beat it. There hasn't been an unbeatable game yet, you know what I mean, that I've come across that I'm like, man, there's no way I'm ever going to beat this. Yeah,
how many games have you rage quit? How many games have you rage quit? Now, think about it. Someone a long time ago, I really appreciate it too, a long time ago sent me like a link to a list of games that Phil had rage quit over the years. There was over 100 plus games on there. I think it was almost at 2. There was almost 200 plus games over the years that he hadn't beaten, that he had rage quit outright. And then most importantly, or most famously, his Persona walkthrough. On easy, gets to the very last part, gets charmed all the shit, and gave it up. And said, if you want to see the ending, go and watch somebody else's ending. And then in another game, he ended up getting all the way, or maybe it was Persona, but there was another game he played, I think. He played it all the way to the end, couldn't beat it, and used somebody else's finish. He used somebody else's ending at the end of his ending, at the end of his playthrough, because he couldn't beat the game himself. But there's no game that's unbeatable. All right.
Gamer!
You're not a real gamer. I feel like if I dedicate enough time and effort, I will beat any game.
But I'm certainly not a competitive player. I've never been competitive in anything but Street Fighter. I have no desire to be competitive in anything anymore. Even Street Fighter, I don't care anymore. And for me, it's like, yes, I've amassed this wealth of knowledge and I have better hand-eye coordination and I have more knowledge in general of certain kinds of genres of games now than I ever had before. Yeah, I can play a game that maybe normally for some people this would be difficult and for me it's not. And the flip side of that, it's funny because there's some things in games that are easy for most people and they're hard for me. It's just a really weird situation with me.
At 37, you're developing better hand-eye coordination? How does that work exactly? I don't think that's how it works. You don't develop better hand-eye coordination as you get older. I don't think that's how that works. Experience kind of plays more in that than anything. Because more of the physical attributes are going to diminish as time goes on. Whatever. I mean, this is the same guy who had, like I said, a severely herniated disc in his back, then went to Seattle, got into the Seattle air, and mutated extra muscles around his back. So, yeah. Whatever.
But I would definitely say that, for me, yes, I have definitely gotten better at games over the years, absolutely. And I definitely want to say that I think that it's hard for me now to call myself an average gamer when for 8 straight years this is all I've done for a living.
But that doesn't come from hand-eye coordination. That comes from experience. That's different. Hand-eye coordination is more of a young man's realm. What the fuck are you talking about? And don't you wear glasses? Or aren't you supposed to be wearing glasses? So your eyesight is shit. Absolute total shit. And this is from the same idiot who keeps splashing tea and other stuff on him. Which means your hand coordination isn't very good at all either. And seeing you playing a video game kind of proves it. So, what?
You're playing games on their couch all day, right?
Laziness. I'm very sedentary in my lifestyle. I don't move a lot, being honest. I sit here on the couch streaming all day long most days. Ultimate laziness. It's the laziest kind of content possible, and all it does is propagates toxicity. So,
McDonald's.
McDonald's has now accepted my job application.
So at this point, when I do play games, I have to understand I am playing, unless it's a franchise, like for example, a game I never play, like a sports game or whatever, an action game, an RPG, you know, those games, I've played so many of them at this point that I have to say, yeah, I probably have more knowledge and experience than most gamers, and therefore I may play at a better level than someone else, and I just gotta accept that. Not much more, but maybe just a little bit more. Okay?
Looks like that might be my wife in there, but I don't care. I don't really care about her. I don't care about my ugly wife. What pasta do you prefer? I prefer a penne. Oh! Easy to eat. Oh! Phil's a faggot. Phil's fat. Phil's a loser. Phil's a beggar. Phil's a racist. Phil's a scammer. DSP's a pedophile. DSP is a thief. DSP is a greedy fuck.
This guy's a bitch.
I have a micro penis.
Oh boy, I'm stunned by the ignorance that I just heard. Oh boy, I don't even know where to go with any of that. That just sounds like pure nonsense. Absolutely pure fucking nonsense. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so then again, Curtain Phil is willing to lie on past Phil to make himself look good. It is what it is. He needs attention, positive or negative. He'll take either which one. He may prefer the positive, but he needs the negative. You've heard it. You've already heard it in this broadcast. I don't know what else I can tell you. That's just the way. That's the way the world works for him. End of story. As it pertains to. Oh my god. Matter of fact, here, I'm sorry, I gotta change this. His goutness is starting to reach out to me, and that shit scares me. You know how I feel about that. Oh boy. Alright. So oh shit. So he needs the negative more than anything. Buying the new consoles, he's not joking. I think he's really gonna try to convince these people to buy him new games and to buy him the new consoles. And someone's gonna have to kick up, or a small group of people are going to need about $2,000 on launch month. I would say actually launch week. So be ready for that. Whoever it is who's a DSP fan, you guys might want to get together and get ready to get about $2,000 up for grabs. You're going to need it. So good luck on that one, and Godspeed. That's pretty much it. I mean, he's full of fucking shit to say that I'm getting better as time goes on. Through experience, yeah. If you were actually learning something, you're not. You're not. How many games did you guys watch him play in 2018? How many games did you guys watch him play in 2017 that were similar? That he could have applied what he used in a previous game to this game, he could have, and never did. But yet this idiot can apply what he learned from Super Street Fighter from ST and try to apply it to Street Fighter 5 and got bodied for it. There's not too much hope for an individual like that. It is what it is. He's at his age, and at how, not even his age isn't even the problem. It's really how he's conducted himself, how he's taken care of himself over the years. He's made himself seem older than what he is. He's losing out on everything, to be honest. His hand-eye coordination is shit. You guys have already seen that. He has no reaction time, really, and whatnot. That's why Street Fighter was beating his ass. Because he says it's lag, but it's not all of it's lag. Some of it is just you're not seeing what's coming your way. That's your own fault. You should put some fucking glasses on. You look at a goddamn TV all day, day in, day out, and you don't think it's a good idea to wear glasses? Because of what? You think people are gonna think you're old? You are old. Theoretically, you're almost 40. But then there's 40-year-olds who don't wear glasses. You wanna know why? They either have contacts, they went and got LASIK, or they wore glasses in their youth to correct their vision. You never did that because you wanted to be cool. You're gonna be 45 and blind. Maybe. I don't wish that upon him. I'm just saying. He's gonna have shit eyesight when he gets older. And he's gonna be wearing bifocals. Good luck with that. Just because you want to look cool to a bunch of kids who don't care anyway. Play the fucking game. You're trying to make it more about you than what it's supposed to be about, which is the game. And everything suffers. And then you're mad. You want to blame the detractors and trolls and haters that everything's going wrong because you're not actually focused on the game. You're focused on the chat. You're more worried about what people think of you than playing the very game that people came to watch you play. Nah. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it. Okay, we're not going to continue the rants and whatnot. Got enough out of me today. But thanks for coming by. Very much appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Snort Report, and this is DSP News. Always late, never breaking, unreliable coverage that you can't count on in GTG Network and Productions. I've been your host /anchor GTG, and I am signing off. Take care of yourselves, guys. End the broadcast.